I want to breathe clean air in open space, birdsong overhead. Not this.
White glove test. Bel Air, Los Angeles. What rich people breathe.
Wake up! One chance in life, take it away. Gotta live with your body and soul. So many roads to take, one wrong turn. Ice caps are melting.
And we have about 150 miles visibility.
We're going to have a quick tour of our geoplant. No need to have interior furnaces, and it's a nice, clean, renewable energy.
We need to stop burning fossil fuels at the lung level in the cities of the world. It's just that simple.
My name is Donna Barnett. I chase clean air, beauty, and a more sustainable life.
Look at that.
I lived in LA and I was going to school down there. My dad worked for McCullough Tool Company, and about 1946, 47, he was so sick and tired of all the terrible traffic that we decided to move to Three Rivers, where my grandparents lived. My mother's mother and dad lived there. So we moved up there and my folks built a home and I started a school, and that's where I met Earl.
Ooh, nice story.
1947.
How is it breathing the air in Three Rivers?
I've never had any problems.
Good.
It's great air, except when they're around the horse manure.
Today, the search for clean air takes us to the charming town of Three Rivers, California, gateway community to the Sequoia National Park, land of giant trees. It's only a 3.5-hour drive from both Los Angeles and San Francisco. Yes, I drove, but I did drive a fuel-efficient vehicle and I carpooled. Now you may wonder why Three Rivers. After all, it's next to the San Joaquin Valley, which is known for fruits, nuts, vegetables, and air pollution. It's all because of this man, Jennie Elliott. He wrote me a letter saying, "Hi Donna, I'm very intrigued in finding clean air. Here in Kawean country, we've experienced one of the best clean air summers since 1995. He goes on to talk about the running, biking, hiking, and backpacking as extraordinary right now. I was intrigued. Could there be a pocket of clean air near the Sequoia National Park, a vibrant community? Yes. Okay. Here we are with Jennie Elliott. He's a public historian of the Three Rivers and Sequoia National Park area. He's also the co-owner of the Kawean Commonwealth, which is the area's long-running newspaper that he runs with his wife.
Thank you, Donna. I really appreciate being here and a chance to talk about Three Rivers, because we're kind of a really, what I like to call a best-kept secret of this little corner of California, which is totally unique.
Not anymore.
Yeah. Not anymore, yeah, because we let the cat out of the bag. But now when I got here, I was really enthralled with the area. I didn't realize any part of California existed that was quite like this.
So beautiful.
It's so beautiful, and it's accessible. It's right in the middle of Los Angeles and San Francisco, and I was kind of surprised. I had never really explored it much. Like most people before me that come here, you might visit the giant sequoias and maybe go through the park, but you really don't spend a whole lot of time, learning what the essence of this place is.
So we headed out to find the essence of Three Rivers. It's art, music, Native American and pioneer history, not to mention what the locals felt about their air quality. How you find the air quality?
Well, I love it here. I say I wouldn't live anywhere else. I'm an artist and I want to live in a beautiful, I want to wake up to beautiful, I want to go to sleep to beautiful.
And this is beautiful.
Yeah.
Three Rivers is great to breathe. The springtime, there's allergies. I have allergies a little bit, but the air is good. feel really healthy living down here. Going into Visalia and Fresno, the towns, the air gets a little thick down there, but it's always a relief to drive back up here to Three Rivers.
How is it to breathe the air in Three Rivers?
It's good most of the time. It's not great all of the time, though. So we'd love to see better air quality here, but there are a lot of reasons for the poor air quality at times. Most of the time it's very nice, like today.
Today is blue sky, it's clear, and we're, what, about 1,000 feet above sea level?
Well, it's 1,300 feet, and we really still are in the valley. We're not on the valley floor, but when you have 14,000 foot peaks surrounding you, the Sierra Nevada, the Tehachapi's, the Coast Range, even at 1,300 feet where we are here, we're still very much in the valley.
In the summer, we have some air quality challenges, and those are mostly presented to us from the valley. That air each day makes its way up in here, and if we get into an aversion situation, we need to go up in the mountains to chase clean air. Up in the mountains, the air above 8,000, 9,000 feet is relatively clean every day of the year. And down here, on a day like today, no sweat. We're breathing easy. We got wonderful clean air.
I can attest to the fact that this is true. It's the day after a storm, and it is fantastic.
My dad said that in the old days there was actually natural haze in the valley. When you got up in the mountains and looked down, it was there. But of course, it's a lot more now.
Well, when he was looking at haze, what was it back then?
Normal dust from the wind blowing in the valley, I think, and there was not the industrial aspect of it as there is now.
The agricultural and moving goods industries can impact Three Rivers. Remember that made-in-China sweater you bought and never wore? Or how about the extra TV? Chances are they were shipped in an air-polluting vessel to the ports of LA or Long Beach and put on one of thousands of trucks coming up the 5 freeway and through the San Joaquin Valley. If you have sensitive lungs, consider the fall, winter, or spring, because summer heat can turn to ozone, which is a lung irritant. Any time of year, chances are great you'll indulge in fresh air in nearby mountains.
I love the music. I love the Sierra Jazz Band.
According to an American Rag Readers poll, the High Sierra Jazz Band was voted the second most popular traditional jazz band ever, ahead of the Duke Ellington Orchestra. I'm a music lover.
Jazz Affair in Three Rivers, second week in April.
I've done a lot of singing all my life.
Now, what is a hog collar?
Oh, you ever heard a hog collar?
What is it? No.
Pig, pig, pig. Everybody should know what a hog collar is.
What's your name?
My name is Charles Castro. I live here in Three Rivers.
And where do you play?
I play the drums for the High Sierra Jazz Band since they started in 1976 we started.
I just learned you climbed a sequoia.
Sequoia trees.
And sequoia trees.
I worked with the National Park Service for over 41 years. And during that period of time I did a lot of firefighting. I did a lot of high climbing. I'm a professional on both fields. I got to be so good on climbing sequoias that when a sequoia tree got hit with fire or lightning, the Park Service could not put those out with aerial retardant or any kind of aerial devices. They could not put the fires out on the tips of these large sequoia trees, so they used to call me because I was a high climber and I climb anything.
How did you get up there?
It was from one tree to the other. Usually those years when I didn't have a nice special gun that you can shoot a line over the top of the sequoia trees like these guys do today. It wasn't those years.
So how high up? You were going like, what, 311 feet?
The climb was 287 feet.
Oh
so
my.
It's a long way up.
You got that right.
It's a long way up there, but that was one of those years where I was young, coming up the world. I had a good reputation. I knew what I was doing. I was a professional high climber.
Wow. Charles told me that he and his son are currently the only Native Americans living in Three Rivers. But before Europeans discovered America for themselves, this specific area was teeming with vibrant Aboriginals living peacefully with the land. I'm with public historian Jennie Elliott, and he's going to give us a little background on the Native Americans who called this area their home.
Well, I think everyone's familiar with the story how much of the native population in California was declining by the late 19th century. But here in Three Rivers and in Tulare County area, you have an interesting situation where there was still relatively very little development here in the 19th century and a lot of open space and big ranches. And so many of the Indian groups, not just the Indians that were native or local to this area, found themselves here, you know, making a life along the various tributaries of the Kawean and the Kings and the Kern River. So there were a lot of people that concentrated in Central California here, native people. Mm-hmm. And there were various tribes. There were several tribes, but they did the best they could to carry on their traditions like they always had. And there was still a lot of grinding on the bedrock mortars, and they lived in the wickiups. And
Excuse me, what's a wickiup?
Well, the wickiup is a brush structure, which was kind of like similar to a teepee, but not so much canvas. It would have more brush and wood as part of it, and hides from animals. And in those dwellings, they would have small little groupings where they lived, mostly along water courses. And when the land became divvied up in ranches, many of the ranchers just allowed them to continue to live there much the way they did.
Let's talk just a little bit about the Native Americans' reverence for nature.
Well, we call this animism, and it's a spirit where Native people feel that everything that is living has this same spirit inside that entity, whether it's a human or a tree or an animal. So basically, that's really, to them, that's what God is. And so that's why they revered nature and worshiped nature and had a different kind of relationship with it, because they felt God was in everything. We can feel that nature. It's all around us. We can see it, we can feel it, we can smell it. And it's just a wonderful thing. And it's a lot easier for us to understand what life was like in the 19th century because so much of it is still preserved here.
Down the path is the Kawean River, where we're going to learn how Native Americans ground acorns.
Well, the Indians that came through here, the Yokut people, came through here for many years, and this was a migration site. And what they did here is like what we do today. In the warmer afternoons in the spring and the early summer, they would stop here along the river and spend time by the river. And while they were here, generally the women would process the acorns. And they would pound the material and get it in a mush or a gruel in terms of the acorns. And then they'd place them in one of these areas like this, and they would grind it even into finer material. Once they would leach out the tannic acid, which is contained in the acorns, you can't just grind an acorn and eat it. It'll turn your stomach. But once you leach out the tannic acid, it's a very nutritious, high-protein food.
Please tell us a little history of the Yokuts and some of the artifacts we're looking at.
The Yokuts are various tribes like the Wukchumni, Wuxachi, Tule. What we have in here are baskets from actually more than just the Wukchumni and the Yokuts. I've been told we have a couple of Hopi. We have beads, different wearing apparel, games, dice.
And I see you have a beautiful headdress behind us.
Actually, the headdress is from a theatrical show done up in the park around the turn of the last century. And that headdress was used, but it is not indigenous of this area.
Okay.
It's actually a Plains Indian. Same thing with the lance. This is regular cowgirl. It's sort of wearing apparel of this area, turn of the last century. We have this area primarily is ranch land, groves, orange and apple groves. It's not very good for regular farming because it is very rocky.
You noticed a lot of cattle.
Yes.
I used to pick up people in Fresno off the air-conditioned train. It was probably 100 degrees, and they had to ride down through the valley just in this old bus with a canvas top it was on. It was very interesting to watch their faces in the mirrors when we first got into the timber. Big grins, and then they knew why they were there, and that's what people can do these days.
No, you're absolutely right. Huge sequoia trees are amazing. They're beautiful. They're beautiful red color, and it does take your breath away.
Yes, and you have to be up there longer than a few hours, but the difference in the coloring on the sequoia trees is throughout the day, and when you see the sunset light on those trees and all the greenery around, and it's really beautiful, serene experience.
And right behind John, we're hiding a very special picture. We have what is now called the General Sherman tree, the largest tree in the world, and it was once called Karl Marx.
Well, the Karl Marx tree fits into a lot of this history here because a group of folks had settled on the North Fork in the 1880s, or they were utopian socialists. It was called the Kawean Cooperative Colony. They built a road up into giant forest. It became the first road into Sequoia National Park. Well, the railroads at that time saw these beautiful areas that had giant sequoias as a way to bring tourists and to extend the railroad. And by the way, Sequoia National Park is the oldest national park in California. It's the second oldest national park in the country.
Right.
Setting that land aside, it dashed the hopes of the colonists, and little by little the colony broke up. There are still vestiges of that early colony that are left today around Three Rivers. One of them, of course, is the Kawean Post Office, which we're going to go look at in a few minutes. But the Kawean Commonwealth, the newspaper of Three Rivers today, and for the last 18 years, has been published and done in that same tradition, where we're a community news source, and we are the go-to source for information.
We're here at the Kawean Post Office. It's the smallest continuous running post office in the United States of America. It's still operating today. Oh no, I thought I saw a wasp. But what I wanted to see and show you is this pull-down letterbox. We're going to go on inside, and we see these old-fashioned mailboxes. There's a library. It's a book exchange library where it says, kindly exchange one book for any book you take with you. This post office was established in 1890 and continues to this day, March 2013.
Nowadays, if they're through using some old house, they just tear it down and haul it away. My first year when I was a baby, we lived in a little homestead cabin up that canyon. And of course, I don't remember that. But I remember the cabin itself. And when my parents built their house, it's still down there, but we don't own it anymore. My dad was a carpenter. He tore that old cabin down and brought the lumber down here to use in that house. And my great-grandparents lived right down the slope when the house that's there now was built by some cousins of mine. They tore down my great-grandfather's house, which they, of course, weren't there anymore, and used some of that lumber in that house.
You have wonderful sustainable practices that's been going on for many years in Three Rivers.
Right.
Recycled wood. I've been seeing people recycling plastic.
Yes, and if you come over and look in my place, you'll see that I never throw anything away.
Okay, how does your wife feel about that? What are some of your favorite activities you would recommend?
Just to drive around and see the place, for one thing.
Drive? Drive? We want to get them out of the cars, don't we? You're a walker.
Well, when you get up into the higher mountains around Giant Forest or up at Mineral King or over in Grant Grove and Cedar Grove, that sort, you can take wonderful hikes.
If I went, what would I see?
Well, you would see a beautiful wooded valley with, and it's 6,500 feet higher than where we are right here. And that's in the valley. And then the mountains run up to well over 12,000 feet, some of them around. There was a threat of a big ski resort up there in the 60s, Walt Disney.
Walt Disney was going to build a ski resort?
That's right.
Did you have to fight him on it?
I wasn't really in favor of that. I and other Mineral King people were pretty active to try to evade that, because they were going, that would have been the end of us having cabins up there. So we prevailed.
Yes, I found a vibrant community at the foothills of the Sequoia National Park. Resilience seemed to be built into the DNA of the Three Rivers locals. Could it have anything to do with the oxygen-giving sequoia trees? I wondered.
I happen to have been told that you're 88 years old and you still walk up a steep hill most days, so the air must not be impacting you negatively if you're 88 going up and down the hill.
Oh, no.
Your lungs are strong.
We get you bet. Yeah, Jeanette and I walk down for the paper every morning. It's about a quarter mile, and it's a good steep hill, and we enjoy that.
Well, I can attest to the fact, having been here a few days, that there are a lot of octogenarians.
Dancing and music, that's what keeps everybody on.
I met a woman 99 years old as well.
99.
So something is going on here that works.
Be 95 in 5 weeks.
I don't know if the Fountain of Youth is in Florida. I studied Ponce de Leon and the Fountain of Youth in Florida. I think he may have gotten it wrong. It may be here in Three Rivers in Central California at the foothills of the Sequoia National Park.
Well, I think she's got that right. And
The moral of the story is come on up more often, right?
you bet, and you will be welcome to hear.
Well, I hate to say goodbye to Three Rivers, so I guess I'll say au revoir until the next time, because it's been a fantastic trip. Three Rivers, as you may now know, is the gateway community to the Sequoia National Park. To my right is the Kawean River, and behind me is the Sierra Nevada mountain range. It has a beautiful long history with Native American culture, pioneers, and now locals that carry certain traditions forward. We've seen jazz and learned a lot about what people are up to here and how they're maintaining this pristine, beautiful landscape. As for air quality, we've had mixed reviews. This is near the San Joaquin Valley, and is impacted by local industry, as well as cars and trucks coming up from the ports in LA and Long Beach. So all is not perfect here, and we all need to do our part. Drive less, recycle, and things like this. But I highly encourage you to come to Three Rivers and check out the Sequoia National Park, where you'll see the biggest trees in the entire world. They're right here. So, as for air quality, with its mixed reviews, the search for clean air must continue. Until next time, this is Donna Barnett for Chasing Clean Air. I'm in the land of the giants, the giant forests with the giant redwood trees, and they're gorgeous.
One chance in life.